Hey there friends, Jay Paulides, CanAm Missing Project. This is Miss Huck L. Berry, and she is looking so white and clean. She took a swim in the river today. Had fun. Yeah, you had a good time, huh? Got to cool off. It got up into low 80s today. She was very happy. Very happy, huh? Yeah. Yeah, it's a good girl. You did a good swim job. Okay, before I get into it, Missing 411, National Parks, Washington State. The movie is available right now on Amazon. Amazon just dropped its price on it. So I would greatly appreciate it if everybody who hasn't seen it goes to Amazon right now. You can rent it for next to nothing. And if you watch it, I just ask you one thing. Leave a review. Sign up on Amazon, leave a review. And then go to IMDb and leave that review, please. But go there and watch the film. It will mean a lot to me as we move forward and we talk about the relationship between the missing people and national parks. It's a huge association. And when you watch that movie, you're going to immediately see something's up. Please watch it. Missing 411, National Parks, Washington State. On Amazon now. All right. This is a Skinwalker Ranch review. I was gone last week for a couple days. I missed the show. But I watched it today before I watched this week's event. So you kind of have a double review. I'm not going to cover a lot of the one last week, but we will cover some of it. Let's see what else I was going to tell you. Guess it wasn't too important. Our website, missing411.com. Missing411.com. And if you're in Alaska, I am going to be in Juneau September 13th. The cruise ship docks in Juneau that day. I'm giving a presentation in Juneau on Missing 411. Me, Joe Hauser, and Chris Bledsoe are going to be there at that facility. It's going to be a packed room. Go to Gather Up Events, Missing 411 Cruise. Follow the links to get your tickets. I want all those people in Alaska to be there because you guys are great. I was there 2 years ago. You were fantastic. All right. 2 weeks ago, Skinwalker Ranch. These guys are showing a magnetic reading above the triangle at 750 to 1,000 feet. They call it the bubble. Then, simultaneously at the top of the mesa, at the top of this little mountain they have there, they're drilling, and they were originally drilling a 4-foot hole, 4-foot diameter hole, trying to find this metal thing that's inside the mesa. Now, what's unusual is they used LiDAR to identify the exact location. You can't be wrong. It's there. Well, they drilled with the 4-foot one on top and they didn't hit it. Now they're going to drill again at a new spot. And it's over borehole 2. They drilled 2 boreholes many weeks ago, and they drilled from the bottom of the mesa up towards the top. Borehole 1, borehole 2. They're now drilling over the top of borehole 2 to identify where this piece or pieces of metal are at. They're thinking that if they drill to 60 feet, they'll hit it. This time they're only using a 24-inch diameter drill. And then they kind of let that guy go off and do that. And then they popped over to the triangle area. And they brought a guy over, it's 2 weeks ago now, named Cameron Prince. And he's a Tesla engineer. And he brought some Tesla guns. And they kind of look like a spaceman rifle. That's what they look like. And they're looking to see if they could instigate some activity in that bubble. Well, as they went up to 30 feet on a lift, and they have these two towers. They're like old radio towers, that kind of metal, that are in this triangle area. Well, they took him up in a lift to the top of one of them. They wanted him to be right next to it and shoot his gun into one of these towers. Well, as it happens, immediately as he starts to shoot his gun, on one of their meters, they started to see activity on 33 megahertz coming from the sky above that tower as soon as he started to shoot the gun. Travis is going, where's that coming from? I mean, we're looking, but there's nothing there. Well, when they stopped shooting the gun, the 33 megahertz signal lowered intensely. When they shot it again, it went up in intensity. Every time the gun stopped, the signal seemed to stabilize. Then they went back to their rocket shooting, which they like to do. And they brought in some pretty cool rockets this time. One, they activated it, it didn't fire. They activated it again, it went up, and then immediately went to the left, which it's not supposed to do, and rockets don't do that normally. So Travis said it's as though there's some force that's pushing that over to cause it to do it. They said it went very high and erratic. Another rocket fired. This time it went east. The 33 megahertz didn't fluctuate, although the rocket right after it malfunctioned, didn't fire. Travis tested it earlier and he said it worked just fine. They had sensor boxes around the outside of the triangle during this time, and one of their assistants said 2 of the 4 boxes failed, and one of the boxes was showing a carbon monoxide warning. And they said there's nothing to give off any carbon monoxide over there. So that was a nothing. The next day they went back to the drill site, went down to 68 feet, got nothing. The GPR data that they had said it should have hit the metal in the mesa. It's like GPS, but it's GPR. And then Cameron, the owner, flew in from Salt Lake City to kind of be there when bigger testing was going to do. They would run scans from Travis's helicopter in an east and west direction, increasing altitude with LiDAR. Said it'd take 2 days to evaluate. Then the drill hit 90 feet and they had nothing, and that's the deepest the drill could go, was 90 feet. Travis said something that I've never heard him say before that's pretty weird. He said that thing down there had to have moved, because they knew exactly where it was, they drilled exactly in the spot, and they didn't hit anything. Interesting. Then they got to the part that I like the most. They went back to the command center and they started to review all the high-speed data film that they had on the rockets. And the weirdest thing is, when Prince was standing there with his Tesla gun, maybe 3 or 4 feet from the tower, shooting it into the tower as a ground, they were seeing that the electricity coming out of the gun wasn't hitting the tower, which it had to have. Well, then they did a high-speed evaluation, and it showed the electrical arcs going out and then going up to miss the tower. They didn't know how that could happen. Something was causing it to deflect. Both rockets on high-speed film went up and they teetered just a little bit and then went. And nobody could understand how that could happen either. And they thought that that was a huge anomaly. I would agree. Now, I know a lot of people are complaining that they're using these rockets. I get it. It's a very inexpensive way to poke the bear. And I think that's what they're trying to do. But I have a question. I've worked in a couple big tech companies, and I was on the side that helped with a mission statement. And that took us a while to develop. But that kept the direction of the company consistent. What's their mission statement? What's their goal? I think that's a reasonable question. It kind of frustrates me because at times I don't understand why they do some of the things they do. It's probably outside my intellect zone. I don't get it. Okay, now going to Season 7, Episode 8, the one this week. Drilling the borehole up on the mesa. They moved it further down the mesa so it was closer to the object inside the mesa. Drill number 3, drill deeper. Part of the geologist, archaeologist searched for elements in the soil. They found a few metal flakes 60 to 70 feet down. They had rust on them. They said that the flakes that they found, the metal flakes, were a lot thinner than the flakes they found last time. They said this was almost like a small slice of what they found before. The metals were tested by a portable XRF machine, and they found iron and aluminum, but no europium, which they found last time. And they were going to take these flecks and send them to a university to have them tested. So as always happens at Skinwalker Ranch, as the drill is continuing to make progress, boom, it blows a hydraulic line and it's out of service for 3 days. Happens all the time. So they found 2 small metal flecks and that's it. So then they brought in a man named Alan Isdell, from a precision rocket specialist in his company. And I think what they wanted to do is to bring in an expert to ensure that these rockets would stop malfunctioning. Well, the triangle on the ground is dead center of the bubble. These new rockets that he went can go to 3,000 to 3,500 feet. That is high. And they also have the ability to monitor GPS, airspeed, and electrical magnetics in the air. High-speed cameras will be watching everything in that area. The first launch was a smaller rocket and it just went to 1,500 feet. It wiggled, and as is happening in a lot of these rockets, once it reaches an altitude, it automatically deploys a parachute so it comes down safely. Well, this rocket didn't deploy the chute. The rocket opened, the chute came out, and it was as though the chute was ripped out of the inside of the rocket. They said the amount of force it would take to do that would be unbelievable. So how did that happen? Again, hardly any wind at all. Next rocket had telemetry instruments inside. It goes to 3,000 feet. It hit 2,200 feet and stopped. And as the chute deployed, the rocket just stayed at about 2,000 feet and didn't move. And they said that is the outer extremity of the bubble. Then it's like and they said this, it's like it slid on the outside of the bubble all the way out the perimeter 2,000 feet away, almost a half a mile away from where they shot it. Travis said that was too crazy to understand. He said it can't be a coincidence. Then they did a day launch, another large rocket with upper and lower cameras. Again, the chute didn't deploy, and it came down like a rock. Then they did a night launch. They had a coil inside of it. They wrapped a copper coil around an instrument to measure magnetic anomalies. And they would measure it as it moved through the blob. And they had a camera mounted inside the rocket that was watching a meter read out anomalies as it went through different elevation phases. That was really cool. GPS, altitude, speed measured. It reached 3,400 feet. Chute didn't deploy. And again, this thing, you could see it screaming through, headed for the ground. It would have killed you if it would have hit you, for sure. Travis said the best line of the night, "That's a heavy-duty lawn dart." So him and Caleb went out to find it, and they found it a long ways away, and it was impaled in the ground. They both had to work at it to get it out of the ground. Tube was full of dirt. Then they used another new rocket, a nighttime one, got it up to 2,200 feet, chute opened, and then it suddenly came down in a different direction. It went straight up, chute deployed, and then it again slid around the outside of the bubble. They had a rocket that had a small camera mounted on the outside looking down and on the outside looking up. And this was very cool. Very cool. So as the rocket is taking off, there's a camera looking down, and you could see the flames of the exhaust as it's moving off the pad. It gets about 20-25 feet off, and they go frame by frame. So as the rocket's going this way, obviously the exhaust and the fumes are going down. Except there's one frame where they go horizontal. Parts of the flames go horizontal. And they didn't go horizontal right at the point of the bottom of the rocket. They came out and then went horizontal. They talked about it, and I think Travis and Eric had a good point. As it's going up and the fumes are coming down, something must have entered that spray and pushed it out that way. That's the only thing they could think of that would make it do that. Then they showed the inside of that rocket with the coil. I told you they had a camera inside that showed the meter. And at one point, inside that blob, the meter went way up with the electromagnetism. And they went that way at 750 feet, which is exactly the point where the drones went several weeks ago, wonky. Then they had the one where the rocket went up, chute deployed. They did frame by frame. Remember, they're filming this with high-speed cameras. I think it's a brilliant idea. And I think that people who want to film UFOs, film them with high-speed cameras. It's a it's a laborious task to review the footage frame by frame, but it pays huge dividends. And as they're reviewing this one, a UFO zipped by just after the chute deployed, and then the rocket started floating in a different direction. So Travis and Eric discussed the fact that that UFO must have had some impact on the maneuverability of the rocket. It must have. At the end, the owner comes in and he made some good points. He says, you know, it's as though our equipment and our results are being manipulated. So, in science, you want to have things replicated to study. So if we could do the same test time after time and get the same results, that's what you're looking for in science. Well, if they're not having the same results because the results are being manipulated to the way the entity wants them to show, how can you make any progress? Now, I know from talking to the crew at Bigelow's research, one of the frustrating things that they had was their researchers saw a lot of things, but many of them weren't caught on camera. They couldn't explain it. At one point, they were filming something, or something was happening on the meadow, out near the triangle area, as a matter of fact. And it was in full view of a couple of cameras. And the cameras were on a pole, and they were on a cable that came out of the ground, went to their command center, came out of the ground, went up a pole in a protected tube up to the camera. They had a camera watching the camera. And as that camera is running, about to film whatever's happening, something that you can't see cuts the camera cable, but the camera cable being cut is seen by this camera over here, but you can't see what's cutting it. What are you going to do? That's when you scratch your head and go, it's way smarter than us. But what's going on here? So let's go back to the Mesa. Travis said today that thing moved in the Mesa. That thing moved in the Mesa. Okay. Well, when they tested those chips at the university, those chips, when they moved the camera off them, started to move and like they were healing. Oh yeah, that was on camera. Went back and they could see slight movement in them. Supposedly, we don't have anything like that. So what's going on there? You know, in the last few years when I've done these reviews, I've had some great emails from people much smarter than me that make some great comments. And I pass them along. I pass them along to people I know. They've never used them, and I'm not hard pressed. But keep furthering your ideas towards me, and I'll do what I can. It's very hard to be on the fringe of new science, and you don't have a book to read about how to do it. And what these guys are doing is doing field work on something monumental. I truly believe it. And I get some hellaciously demeaning comments. Oh, this is just a joke. They're just doing it for TV. No, they're not. They're not. I'm just telling you, they're not. I've met most of these people, and it's not in their character to fabricate things. And when you bring in multiple contractors like they do every episode, those contractors aren't going to fabricate anything and make their business look bad. You're insane. They're not doing that. And I can only tell you, give you one name firsthand. In the movie right there, Missing 411 National Parks, Washington State, we had one of the stars of the show, Dave Mason, bring his technology over when we filmed things on Mount Rainier. There's no way Dave would fabricate anything. His integrity level is so high. There's no way. And he's got technology they don't have and nobody else in the world has. So he can see things that nobody else can see. So before you pull your gun out and you rip a shot at somebody thinking that they're a phony, just maybe there's somebody out there who knows a lot more about it than you do. And just because you don't understand what's happening out there, or you don't see what's happening, it doesn't mean it's not happening. Joe Hauser at The Vortex and I talk about this all the time. There's so many things happening around us all the time that we don't see. It's ridiculous. We see in such a small spectrum to the possibilities out there. I mean, if we look in FLIR, we'll see things. If we look in night vision, we see other things. And then there's a whole other way to look at things. I just know that there's a lot going on. And even when Huck and I are together, I know she sees things and senses things I don't, which is why she's with me. And a great example of that today, I'm working in my office. And my office sits at one end of the house, and I look down a hallway towards the kitchen. And she usually sits right at the end of my desk, looking down the hall at the kitchen. Usually snoring, but she usually wakes up pretty quick. Today, she wakes up and she looks down the hall. She's done this before. And a very, very, very low, yeah, it was me. Don't worry, it's just me. A very low growl. And then she's never, ever done this before. She gets up and she walks around behind my desk to me, turns around, puts her whole body behind the desk with just her eyes and her nose looking down the hallway. And I'm thinking, what the heck is down there? Jeez. That's never happened before. So I'm going to have to go out and buy me some new... in fact, I was talking to Joe about this the other day. I'm going to go buy me some new instruments and put them in that hallway and in the kitchen and measure what's going on. One thing Harvey Pratt, God rest her soul, was going to do before he passed away, he was going to come over and smoke my house for me. Native American way to cleanse the house. The only other guy I know that could do that would be Jonathan Dover, and hopefully I can have him out here to Montana so he can do it for me. Well, I thank you for being here. I really do. And we're approaching 1,000 videos on the channel. A lot of good interviews now are posted. The older videos are just as good as the new videos and just as important. Please always read the #1 comment on the videos. That'll give you some direction on where we're going with the video, and it'll give you some insight as to other videos I'm recommending, and I'll post those videos there. I'll be in Gatlinburg, Tennessee in a couple weeks. If you want to come out and see me, I'll be there. If you want to read about the event, go to Gather Up, one word, Gather Up Events. And it'll be a huge show. Huge. It'll be a lot of fun. In the meantime, thank you for all your kind comments about mental health that I've talked about. A couple of you said that I saved your life. My gosh, what else could I ever ask for in life if I could do that for somebody? Thank you. You made my week, made my month. Be safe, be kind, Paulides out.